Hello, my name is Mitchell Kutra. This is my presentation for Module 8 in EDL851, going over the legal aspects of teacher evaluation in our district. I work for UST 259 in Wichita, and we have had the Marzano system for the last 5 years. What the Marzano system does is it breaks down a teacher's job into different categories as far as instruction and content, and basically what a teacher should do and how they should act into several different categories. Now each category has different elements inside of it, like integrating technology or integrating student movement or keeping student engagement during certain things, checking student understanding, and what happens when an admin would come in and observe a class, whether it be a walkthrough, a formal observation, or an informal observation. They would look for different things in the classroom, different actions in the classroom, to check off different elements. And at UST 259, the last few years we've had to go over, I believe, 32 elements. With the new contract, we were able to reduce that down to 12 elements. But for example, other than the examples I gave earlier, another one would be occupying all four quadrants of the room. But an admin would walk in, they would observe what was going on, and find an element that fits either a positive part of what the teacher is doing or a area that the teacher is deficient in. When it comes to the amount of times we're observed, it's a tiered system. That your first year you have 10 walkthroughs, which is about a 3 to 5 minute period where an administrator is in your classroom while you are teaching, and it's not announced. They just come in and they try to observe certain elements. And then you have 2 formal observations where you have to give them a lesson plan ahead of time. You then have to have them in there for the majority of the class, and then have a post meeting with the administrator to talk about what they saw, how the observation went in accordance to what aspects of Marzano evaluation system they saw, and then plan for improvement. The second and third year, you still have the 10 walkthroughs. Then you have 1 formal observation and then 1 informal observation. The difference between an informal observation and a formal is you do not have to submit a lesson plan beforehand to the administrator. They do tell you they're coming, but you do not have to submit a lesson plan ahead of time. At the end of the year, the first, second, and third years, you do have a principal that is in charge of you and your observations and your Marzano, meet with you and speak about how the year went, what the difficulties were, and what they thought well, and then plans on improvement in the classroom. After the third year, after your evaluation year, is a 3-year cycle where the administrative team will take a third of the staff that is over 3 years in, and they will do the 10 walkthroughs in a formal and informal each year. So they basically call it, you're either on cycle or you're off cycle. So 2/3 of the more veteran teachers are off cycle, and they still get walkthroughs. They're just not a set amount of walkthroughs, and they don't get the formal or informal evaluations. So in USD 259, the first 3 years are probationary years as teachers. So what will happen is you'll have your observations, you'll have your meetings with the administration, and if you show no improvement and you show that you're not willing to make the changes that are suggested, then you can be let go. After the 3rd year, if the principal does not believe that you're an effective teacher or that you don't fit the school, then he or she can choose to move on and let you go. After 3 years, you can be let go for poor performance, but there's a long process, including several steps in formal plans of assistance before you get let go. It would be pretty difficult to be terminated for poor performance if, as a teacher, you're doing the right things and trying to be getting better. So if an evaluation does not go well, you can request a conference with your observer, so the person who did the evaluation. If that doesn't happen, you go to your head school principal. And if that doesn't happen, you go to district HR. Now, after that, if it is still not satisfactory and you get let go, there's 2 options. You go to the teachers union, who can attempt to block the termination, or then you can go take legal action with a wrongful termination suit. Teachers union will fight for you with that. They have a legal staff that will help the teachers for the wrongful termination of employment suits. So one court case that is notable that a teacher won for wrongful termination is McNaughton versus Charleston Charter School, and it was in South Carolina. The details of the case was that the plaintiff was a non-traditional teacher. She had background in marketing and business and graphic design. They hired her to teach middle school art and yearbook. And for 2 years, she had nothing but positive reviews from parents and students and performed well in the evaluation system. Around the middle of the school year, the principal decided to let her go, to open up an allocation to bring in another math teacher, because several students had poor performance on math assessments. The principal made no inquiry to the board first to request funding. He got funding earlier in the year for a language arts and a science position from the Board of Education, but made no inquiry to them about increasing funds to have a math allocation. The plaintiff, after she was fired, even with a good recommendation from the principal and the board, she wasn't able to find a job that paid enough. She ended up losing her home, becoming financially hardshipped with bills, and it caused her a lot of stress and distress. As a result, she then sued the Board of Education and the principal for wrongful termination. She was awarded $95,000 and $38,000 in attorney fees because the courts said that it was an unjust termination. So as a future administrator, and when I get into evaluating teachers and making those decisions, what will I do? So when it comes to my evaluation, I need to make sure I am unbiased and helpful to all. In some of the wrongful termination suits that I read up on in cases, people were they believe they were fired because of not being liked by the administrator, not being liked by the principal or board or superintendent. So I need to make sure I'm unbiased and helpful to all, and any teacher under my supervision will get help. Also, evaluations follow the protocol. The best thing to do is to be by the book and not have any leeway either direction. Also, in supporting my teachers as an AP or a full building principal, I need to be open and honest with my staff. I can't have any secrets. They cannot think that I'm going to play games and try to fire someone without just cause. And when I do have a plan of assistance on a teacher, I need to stay current with the plan of assistance and continue to be helpful as an administrator, because the last thing that I would want to do is have a wrongful termination suit and cause distress not only to the teacher, but also slight the district that I'm working for.